So I'm just sitting here having a little lunchtime smoke. Some 2012 965. Thank you, Dan, down in Portland. Shared, he was getting out of pipe smoking, and so he shared little jars of this and that, and this was some of that vintage 965. Still pretty moist. It was in a jar, not full, but yeah. So 965 is a lot like Balkan Supreme. I think Balkan Supreme is a little nuttier, and this is a little, tastes a little more, I don't know, sophisticated. But you know, some of that Balkan Supreme, I have dates from 2009. Some of it's a little more recent. And every year when there's a new crop of tobacco, somehow these blenders, that is the art of blending, where they try to keep the same taste going every year with different crops, different tobaccos, different, you know, there's no, they'll have to do with Cyprian rather than Syrian Latakia. Wow, but just year to year, different tobaccos, because of different growing conditions, are going to be different. And so they have to somehow bring it all together and kind of keep it consistent. I think that is an amazing thing. You know, it's kind of like wine vintages, I guess. I'm really not a wine guy, but where every year is different. So you put the vintage on the bottle and the location where it was grown, hopefully. Terroir, right? Terroir, meaning the conditions of the ground, of the land, of the air, of the water, everything combines to make the end result. So, kind of cool. So this is a pipe that, very unusually for me, I don't have a rubber vinyl bit on. It's a Savinelli 616 shape, the 616C. It's a La Corta with a acrylic bit, so it's kind of hard, but it fits nicely in the mouth. And a vinyl bit does not fit because of that shape, you know. Yeah, that makes it tough. Nice pipe. Has a decent capacity, yet it's squat and short and thick. I liked it. Still don't have the DR Moro running, but I haven't really tried. I decided to go on a kind of a lengthy motorcycle run down into northeast Oregon, where it's the hot, dry side of the mountains. And sure enough, it was hot. It was 100 or so every day. And kind of smoky. There were a lot of fires burning over there. Not really in that quadrant of the state, but to the south. The Bootleg fire is the biggest fire in the country right now, from what I hear. So I had a great time. Getting together with people, camping. That was interesting. Slept okay on the ground. And just the greatest roads to ride. My goal is to avoid freeways whenever possible. Even though they do allow lickety-split, you know, if you're counting your minutes. But boy, those back roads, those old highways are just sublime. And virtually deserted, because everybody's trying to make time. And so sometimes you feel like you never have enough time. You know, you're always rushing around. I do that too. But honestly, if you can just take that half step back and get a little perspective, there's always enough time to do what you want to do what you need to do. Yeah, it's so maybe the taking a little vacation puts that into perspective a little bit. Anyway, great people. Found this little restaurant in Meacham, Oregon, the only one in Meacham, Oregon. They had t-shirts that said, why would anyone live in Meacham, Oregon? Old railroad town on the Union Pacific over the Blue Mountains. I should know that. Anyway, lots of great roads to ride, and we just had a bang up time. So I'm like my dad. He could recreate like nobody else. I mean, he knew how to have fun. So I think he had a sense of foretold destiny, in that his dad had had scarlet fever when he was a kid, and so did my dad, as it turns out. And so what that often does is it scars your heart valves, and it damages them, and so it roughens them up, and it creates the opportunity for staph infection to build up in your heart, and that can kill you. And it killed my grandfather. I never knew him. He died at 55, 3 years before I was born. And I think my dad thought that the same fate was going to befall him. So he made sure that he got out there and hunted and fished and skied and hiked and explored and did all those things to the utmost. So he was my hero as far as knowing how to have a good time. So anyway, I paced myself. I didn't overdo it on this motorcycle ride. My hip was fine. You know, I'm careful. I'm real careful. You just don't want to like twist it wrong. And being in laying it down or being in a motorcycle wreck, that'd be very bad. Oh, that'd be very bad. But yeah, I was just careful and didn't overdo it, and just had a great time. So before I left, I tried to deal with that DR more, and I just need to spend a little time with it and make sure that the stop switch is working the way it should, which will require a little electrical meter that puts a little voltage through there. And just kind of go through and make sure I did everything that I could do, you know. Go through a checklist, just like an airline pilot when the plane is crashing. You know, they pull out the book with the checklist. I think that's funny. But it's the most efficient way to make sure that everything gets done. So there are checklists for everything. And so I will come up with a checklist, and luckily we've got this great weather, which is really dry, which everything's burning up as a result. But it is really nice to not have it be raining. So, yay. So, got this letter via Doug Owen over at Cargo Hold. So he said, "Hey Tom, there's a letter here for you." So I thought, oh, I mean, that's sweet. It's really sweet. But you always kind of wonder what it is, you know. So Ron T. writes, "Hi Doug, you and I have never met, and I only know you through videos that I've watched when Tom, Northwest Pipe Smoker, visited your shop while making a YouTube video. I've been watching Tom's videos for a number of years. As Matches 860 would say, I am a long-time lurker. Since I do not know how to get in contact with Tom, and I know that at times he visits your shop, I am asking you to do me a favor. When Tom visits next, could you give him the enclosed poem? I'm sure that he would enjoy it." Thanks for the nice letter. Thanks, Red. So a poem. Now, I am a poem traumatized person. I appreciate poetry. You know, it's a powerful medium, honestly. But I had this girlfriend in high school who was very emotional, emotive. Before that was a thing, in fact. And she would write this very emo poetry and then make me listen to it. She would read it to me. No. I mean, there's a time and a place, but anyway, so I'm kind of poetry challenged. So when Doug gave me this letter, I went into a shop before I went on the motorcycle ride. And I said, "Hey Doug, maybe you should read the poem." And so we kind of tried to film it on the phone with him reading the poem for the first time. He'd never read it. And then people were coming in the store, and then my battery died on the phone, and so I switched to a different phone. It was a mess. It was a train wreck. So that did not work out. But it was a nice thought, but it did not work out. When you wear a white shirt, all the ash just really shows up. So I'm going to give it a try with reading this. Are you ready? Maybe some of you are poem traumatized as well. Click off. Watch a different video at this point. Okay, so I'm going to give it a try. Smoke Rings from My Pipe by Malcolm Guite. How would you pronounce that? Could be Guite, could be Guite, could be Guite. I don't know. All the day's weariness is done. I'm free at last just to do as I will. Take out my pipe, admire the setting sun, practice the art of simply sitting still. Thank God I have this briar bowl to fill. I leave the world with all its hopeless hype, its pressures and its ever-ringing till, and let it go in smoke rings from my pipe. The hustle and the bustle, these I shun, the task that troubles and the cases that kill, the false idea that there's a race to run, the pushing of that weary stone uphill, the wretched iPhone all-insistent trill, wingers and whiners, each with their own gripe. I pack them in tobacco leaves until they're blown away in smoke rings from my pipe. And then at last my real work is begun, my chance to chat, to exercise the skill of summoning the muse one by one. I have a pen, but quills are better still. And when the soul is full, the time is ripe, kindle the fire of poetry that will breathe and expand like smoke rings from my pipe. Prince, I am done with grinding at the mill. These petty, pelting tyrants aren't my type. So lift me up and set me on a hill, a free man blowing smoke rings from his pipe. How many other pipe poems are there? I'm sure Google would tell us. Not bad, actually. That wasn't too bad, was it? My pulse isn't racing here. I mean, I don't have a cold sweat. I don't have this sense of dread. This hopeless looking into the black abyss, like I did in high school with my girlfriend. So thanks, Ron. Thanks for sharing that. Like smoke rings from my pipe, which I've never really been able to do. I've never practiced much, but some guys are really good at it. So, one of the guys who drives the water trucks for the fire department, we have this little team, it's great. He took one of the water tenders east of the mountains on a state mobilization deployment with a strike team of little brush trucks, a command rig, and the tender. And he was gone for a week and a half. Got back for drill Tuesday night, fire drill, and we had some good stories about that. And honestly, I've had such great experiences over there. I mean, it's just enlarged my life enormously to have done that. But with this hip, I can't do the prerequisite, which is the pack test, which is 45 pounds on your back, 3 miles in 45 minutes. So 15-minute miles with 45 pounds on your back. And I just don't want to wreck my hip, you know. So I can't make that basic requirement for the red card, which is your passport to go and fight wildland. So I'm not doing it this year. So I turned in some of my gear. That was kind of sad, but it's a reality. Yeah, I just love the heck out of doing that. It's just being out doing something useful with a whole bunch of really talented people, committed, talented people who you've never met before, but you are a team. And it's remarkable. It is really remarkable. All kinds of different people out there. And everybody comes together and works efficiently as a team without being forced to, you know, it's all volunteer stuff. The way we do it. So people are there because they want to be there. So pretty cool. So we'll see, maybe next year. Who knows? But I kind of doubt it. I think I've done it. So I did about 15 years of it, and I guess that's as much as I'm going to do. But sure was fun. I did buy a new brush mower with a Honda engine. So we'll see how that. It's on its way by truck. And then we'll fix this old DR. I'll get it going. I mean, it's just not that big a deal to get it running, right? But you kind of have to know what you're doing. So, and I don't. You know, after you become good at something after you've done it a couple or 3 times. Well, some of the stuff you're just like coming in cold, and YouTube videos help, but it's not quite the same. And I had the neighbor kid, he's 13, I think. His voice just started deepening. it's fun. So I was walking up the driveway and he said, "Hey, Tom." Well, he was working on he was doing something to a red wagon, like putting a framework on it. I said, "Hey, Calvin, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm making a carrier for the lawnmower because I'm starting my lawn mowing business." So I said, "Hey, I've got a yard up here that could be mowed. What do you get for it?" He said, "Oh, $20. So I said, "You're on. Come on up at your convenience and mow my yard. I'll give you $20. So, so we did, and it's amazing how it just feels much better to me. I mean, he did mow over a few plants. It's fine. And he missed a few spots, and that's fine. But the whole effect is perfect. And that was one of the better $20 I've spent in a long time. So anyway, that's good too. You know, with the brush mower down, I couldn't use it to mow the yard. It was too tall for the push mowers. So anyway, problem solved. Easy. And to everybody's benefit. So, yeah, it was great. So employ your local kids if you can. Because paper routes aren't a thing anymore. I mean, my brothers and I always had paper routes, but gosh, it's so rare. Newspapers are becoming, papers are becoming quite unusual, and so that's just not a thing. But mowing yards still is. Yay. So give them a chance. Help them out.